2026 is looking like it's going to be a great year for city builders. At least my wish list is growing quite a bit. And so I have got myself a list here of upcoming city builders and colony builders that are coming out here next year. And we're going to start with the one I am looking forward to most, and that is Nova Roma. This one, we are Rome. At least we're a Roman colony anyway. We go out there, we build ourselves a city in this, of course, Roman style. I guess the setting is Rome is sort of falling, but you're trying to build yourself a town in this Roman theme, where you're also trying to deal with like water and rivers and storms, and of course the gods, and deal with them and keep them happy. If you're familiar with Kingdoms and Castles, this is why I'm looking forward to it, because this is by Lion Shield, who made Kingdoms and Castles. This is their new game, and it's also being published by Hooded Horse, who also has a pretty good name in these kinds of games. So there is Nova Roma, number one on the old list. Next up, we got County of Fortune. It's actually a county builder, hence the name. So instead of just building one town, you're building villages and towns. And as you develop them, depending on where they're at, different resources, different fertility for farming. And so each town kind of has its own purpose in building a county. This one's by Nepos Games. Up next, we have Starhome. We're going to space. This is by Digifox. You are commanding a fleet of starships. Your home got blown up, and you got to go out there with your colony ship, or your colony fleet, I should say. And instead of building like on a bunch of islands, your ships are your islands. And so you're basically building a city in space on those ships. And so your fleet becomes your city. And you take that fleet and you go bouncing around in space. You got to fight off things shooting you as well. It's not a casual game. It's a survive and deal with the things trying to kill you kind of a game. But it's being developed by Digifox, published by Games Operators. Up next is Crown of Greed. This is a little more hands-off city builder, where you're basically the mayor in charge of the town. As you build like a barracks or an archery hut, whatever, these adventurers start popping out. And you kind of manage the adventurers on the side. You focus on the town by making sure you got yourself a tavern, you got a blacksmith selling them goods as they go out and do their adventurer things. And as they buy gear from your blacksmith, you collect the taxes, and you sort of build your town that way. If you can encourage your heroes to go out and attack certain goblin camps or whatever else by offering bounties. But if you've played the game Majesty, very similar to that, heavily inspired by the old Majesty that came out like in 2000. But in a line of a few Majesty-like games recently. This is by Bloom Entertainment and published by Playway. Up next, we have Metropolis 1998. This is it's a modern city builder, but it's this pixel art style. A very, very minute, detailed city builder. Or it can be if you want it to be. So you can just like lay out your plots of land and sort of auto-build, kind of like a normal city builder. Or you can go in and individually place like the beds and the kitchen table and the dresser or whatever, every single piece on every house in the game. And it's not just like small villages. You can go from a 4-person town up to like a 10,000 person town. And of course, you can be as detailed and minute as you want, or you can plop things down. There's also like a builder, and you can upload your designs, and so you can plop down different designs. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's a very interesting mix of city builder and maybe like a little bit Sims, because each of your characters, you pick where they live, you pick where they go to work. A very interesting looking city builder being developed by Yesbox Studios. Up next, we have City of Atlantis. The legendary City of Atlantis has emerged from underwater. Huzzah! So we are in charge of building the City of Atlantis. And this is still ancient world. So the Greeks and the Carthaginians are still coming over to like attack us. I think it said Greeks and Carthage. I don't remember. A couple of ancient folks are coming over to come and kill us. Greece and Egypt. That makes more sense. And we got to build defensive structures to fight them off. Of course, there are tsunamis coming in. We got to build huge water breakers to defend our town. We sort of have this central core, and it builds out in rings out from that as we try to grab resources, also manage the town, manage the people in town, deal with the technology we've got, because we're Atlantis, and fight off the things coming to try to kill us. This is being developed by Innominate Games, and published by Games Operators. Up next, we have Beyond These Stars. We are building a city on the back of a space whale. I think this was on my list last year. So big whale, build ourselves a town on the back of this whale while we're trying to manage both the town and keeping the whale happy, of course, by sort of the environmental needs of the town is really the whale's health. But also, in addition to that, the whale goes through space and goes like to other star systems, and we can explore those other star systems. We can even build like outposts. We're supposed to be able to build outposts on those other worlds and manage those outposts. Meet aliens, and apparently we're going to uncover the mysteries of the universe. This is being developed by Balancing Monkey Games and published by Hooded Horse. Up next, we have Raev, Kingdom on the Distant Shores. This one starts out small. You start with, a little village, but eventually you go into building a multi-city kingdom. And this, you're a bunch of foxes, by the way. And you take your fox citizens, you start out with your little village, lumber huts, houses, mines, that kind of thing. But eventually you build multiple towns, and you connect those towns up with roads. There's no grids on this game, a very free-form building system. And eventually, as your kingdom grows, you're sending out your war parties, and you're fighting against other folks, other kingdoms out there. It seems like it has a pretty big growth from nothing to kingdom. This is by Ravine Games and published by V Publishing. Up next, we have Harrowlands, a medieval fantasy colony sim. This one feels something like RimWorld, but RimWorld with a dark fantasy feel to it. There's 3 different races in the game, and each of those races are going to play, of course, differently, and you have to manage all of that in town, also while dealing with all the terrible things out there in the world. Your whole story starts out with you being a bunch of fugitives that have escaped from Reaver's Keep, and so these terrible things are trying to come out and kill you. It has a very dark, Halloween style. That's kind of what the vibe I got from looking and reading through the thing of a RimWorld type colony builder. Being developed by Bashful Wolf Studio. Up next, we have The First Explorers. This is a Settlers-like game. First thing on their Steam page, Settlers-like game. It is very much Settler style, if you remember Settlers, where it is a city builder RTS type of game. And it's set in this historical setting where you can be either Rome, Carthage, or Gaul, and you'll build your town, sending out your lumber mill, your kind of your standard town building things, expanding your territory, but also trying to raise armies up to push back against your neighboring empires or towns that are out there in the world. Interesting settlers type of city builder coming soon by Bookwald Interactive. So we've got Timberborn, which has beavers. We've got Whiskerwood is new now, and it's got a bunch of mice. Why not Crowded, a crow city builder game? So we're building a crow town. We're up in the treetops, and you're managing your crows, shelter your flock, engineer, scavenge, and explore your way to a self-sustaining society in the sky, they say. Yeah, it's a crow city builder. I guess you're managing, with research, you're managing wind things to push your crows around and sort of explore the world around. Anyway, it's being developed by Nestwork Games. Interesting idea, and coming soon. It is developed and published by Nestwork Games. We have Eastern Era up next. This one actually has a demo out, and I have played the demo by Fun New Games, and you're building yourself a city, but you are the leader of a sect, and your job is to develop this sect, a martial arts sect. And so as your colonists come in, you build your town, you build your food stores and your hunting and you all the basic stuff, but you're also managing a terrible world out there. There's bandits trying to come to kill you, and big bears, and also lots of mythological creatures are out there in the world trying to take out you. But assuming you get your things trained, you start building up a bunch of martial arts folks that can defend your little town you've got here by Fun New Games. Dragonscale Monastery is up next. Discover the secrets of dragon breeding. So you're building up on a mountain, and there are dragons about. So you are trying to manage 2 things. You're going to manage your town that you're building on the side of a mountain. There's, of course, winter and storms and all this good stuff. But also, you're trying to manage the dragons, and you are trying to breed the dragons. Once you breed the dragons, you can, craft up your own special kinds of dragons in this, what they call it, a unique survival city builder in the world of Dragonscale Monastery. By the way, you're a bunch of monks, which also is where the monastery comes from. But yeah, managing dragons, building a town by Cleverson Games, and published by Sim Farm and Playway. We have City-State Metropolis coming up. We don't see a lot of these like modern-style city builders since City Skylines has kind of taken over that world. But we've got one here, and this is potentially an alternative to something like that. It's gridless zoning and a very minute details. You can even place how the buildings are designed. Every building, every skyscraper can be designed specifically how you want. You can color it whatever you want. It's a very customizable city builder in the sort of this City Skylines style. And supposed to be coming out sometime early this next year. It is being developed by Andy Stark. Also has a pretty detailed, from what it looks like, map-making designer as well. Steel Artery Train City Builder is up next. It kind of says what it is right there in front of you. It's this like steampunk fantasy city builder. So you're building a train, and on this train, you put out like your hunters and your foragers and your miners and all this are living on the train. All those buildings are on the train. So you've got to run your foundries and your sawmills and all this stuff. So every stop that your train makes, they go out, they scavenge and grab all the resources, bring them in. On the train's way to the next stop, you're smelting all these ores and making sure your train is running. Also, you're trying to deal with you got humans and you've got orcs that don't apparently get along too well, so you're trying to deal with that as well in this train 2D side-scrolling city builder being developed by Soul Age 23 and published by Creativo. Up next, we have the Whims of the Gods, a strategic cooperative city builder. This is an Aztec-themed, or maybe Mayan-themed city builder, where you're building a sort of Mesoamerican style of city builder, and kind of starts out kind of standard in this sort of like banished style of thing. But then it starts getting a little bit different because you've got a volcano right next to you. You got to keep the gods happy. Strange creatures start coming out of the mountain, and I mean strange as in like mechs. It takes when you start getting research done, it takes a interesting twist. I did the playtest, or maybe the demo. Maybe it was the demo. There is a demo available on this one right now on the Steam page, and you can start seeing where that interestingness starts to kick in there. It's not just a sort of like your historical Mesoamerican city builder. It takes some turns, and also cooperative city builder is also kind of an interesting idea. Anyway, it's being developed by Juggler Games and published by PJ Games and Creativo, and it is coming out next year. Back to the ocean with Drownlight, a city building survival sim set in a flooded world. This kind of feels like a little bit of a Frostpunk in the water, because you've got a lighthouse, and everything revolves around that lighthouse. You build out from that lighthouse. You're sending out boats to go scavenge the sea, bring back resources as you expand your town. But it's all about keeping that lighthouse lit. It's going to bring in survivors. It's also going to bring in something hanging out, secrets lurking in the raging waters, it says. If the lighthouse goes out, the city may be lost forever. And so, yeah, you've got these... You're basically managing your town while trying to keep that alive. There's storms coming in. There's terrors outside in the world that are going to try to come eat your town. Being developed by Fathom Light and published by Creativo. Finally, we have Sintopia. Sintopia is a tongue-in-cheek, managing hell, manipulate the overworld type of game. You're going to build the resurrection business of your dreams, they say. So you've got two parts to this. On the top, on the overworld, you are managing the sort of medieval settlement. You got a town, you've got some creatures out there in the world, and you're kind of managing this town by having houses and blacksmith and lumber mill and all this sort of stuff. When the people die is when you come in, because their souls go down to hell, and then you go into the underworld and you manage that, and you get currency based on cleansing their souls in hell. You're building that sort of system, city basically down there, managing those souls and trying to collect money. And then once they get cleansed, they go back up to the overworld and they live their lives up above. Now, when things don't work out, then demons and all kinds of terrible things run across the world and destroy everything. It's a very, very interesting idea. And it has a little bit of a theme hospital down below, but also a bit of a city builder up top. It's an interesting mix of things. Anyway, it's being developed by Pyronites Games and published by Team 17. And that's it. There is my list of upcoming city builders and colony builder games. If you have any that I have forgotten, I have missed, please let me know. Put them in the comments. I want to see them and make my wish list grow even more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.